Someone asked me the other day whether it's okay for an adult to yell at a child. And the short answer is no, it's not okay. The reality, however, is that we are human beings with human emotions, and even the calmest amongst us will sometimes lose their rag. The reason it's not okay, though, is because when an adult is yelling, they are in a dysregulated state. And if they are in a dysregulated state, then the child will also become dysregulated. And therefore they will respond in a range of ways. This might be by yelling and screaming back, or maybe even becoming violent, or they may cower and run away and hide, or they may fawn, so that's becoming overtly submissive. All of these responses stem from the same place, and that is fear. So when you are yelling, the only thing you are achieving is putting your child into a fear response. Now, some of you might say, but don't teachers sometimes yell at their class? Perhaps even just to get their attention. And yes, they do, but that doesn't make it okay. And it doesn't make it okay even if they are doing it with a raised voice just because the class is being noisy and they need to get their attention. Because there will be children in that class who have auditory sensitivity, and that loud noise is also going to dysregulate them, causing stress and anxiety. In fact, our school actually has a no shouting policy. So I would encourage all teachers and all schools to think about that before they start raising their voice in any way. Now, I'm going to admit I have yelled at my child because sometimes she can be very challenging, especially when she comes out of school and she's been holding in a lot of stress and emotion during the day. I sometimes pick her up and I immediately become her emotional punch bag. And even though I know where that behaviour is coming from, there is a limit on what I can take. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes I have exploded when it's just become too much. The trick is, however, to take a number of steps in order to repair the relationship afterwards. So I've got 3 things that I do that I want to share with you. So the first thing is that I calm myself down, and I do that in any way that I can in the moment. Sometimes that might be just stepping away and taking 3 deep breaths, or maybe it is moving my body some way, by maybe just briskly walking around the garden or something like that. Or sometimes I might take myself off to the bathroom for a moment and do some tapping. Now, I'm going to explain a bit more about tapping later, and I've got some free resources because this is such a great technique to calm yourself down when you're in the midst of the fire like this. The next thing that I do is I take responsibility for my behaviour. I take responsibility for the fact that what I have just done is not okay, and I go and apologise to her. And then I try and repair the relationship. And there may be a variety of ways that I do that. For example, just upping my parental presence by maybe spending 10 minutes with her doing something that she wants to do. Maybe that's playing a video game together or watching something on TV. Or it might be just talking about what happened and thinking through how we might stop that situation occurring again. But I always maintain that I take responsibility for my behaviour. A lot of adults seem to find it very hard to apologise to children, but essentially we have to be the adult and take that responsibility. The third thing I do is I make my self-care a priority so that I'm decreasing the chances of that explosion happening in the first place. And this kind of self-care has to be happening on a daily basis. It's not something that we should just do after we've had the explosion. It's something that we have to put into our schedule every day to try and reduce the chance of that explosion happening. Now, one of the ways that I do this is through tapping, which I mentioned earlier. If you're not familiar with tapping, I will explain. It is a mix of the ancient Chinese tradition of acupuncture with Western psychotherapy. And what we do is we tap on certain parts of the body while reciting various statements. Now, I have a video that goes into the principles of tapping in much further detail, and I will link to that at the end of this video. But what I will say is that I love this technique because it is so quick and easy, and you can just do it by yourself. As I said, go off to the bathroom for 10 minutes. That's literally all it takes. And you will have really quick results. Now, there's some growing body of evidence that shows the effectiveness of tapping, particularly on a regular basis. And what I would like to do is offer you some free tapping resources so you can give it a go and see how it works for you. I'm going to put a link to those resources in the description of this video, and I really encourage you to build tapping into your daily self-care routine, and that way we'll prevent those yelling episodes from happening in the first place. So check out the description, give that link a click, and let's have calmer, happy, non-yelling family life. I hope that video gave you some ideas on how to reduce the yelling in your family life. I mentioned in the video about tapping, and I've got a video that goes into a lot more detail about how tapping works. So if you're not quite ready to jump in with those free resources that I've got in the description and you want to just find out a bit more, why not give this video here a little watch? And I think you'll find that it explains it really well and hopefully encourages you to give tapping a go.